Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse pregame show. Unfortunately, today we will not have Keith joining us because he's actually going to go to the game. So he's on his way to the Garden pretty soon. I think he might be there now, looking for some place to hang out before the game starts. But we'll be going solo today, so I appreciate any questions and comments you guys have in the chat. Be awesome. We're going to preview what's going to happen tonight, and we're going to look at what's been happening. I have some interesting, what I think are interesting ideas about, where the Knicks might be going, and that actually the future might be a little brighter than the fan base is expecting at the moment. Because right now, we got off to such a great start with that 5-1. And the prognosticators saying, including myself, like I said before, if you watched the post game that I did after the Chicago game, where they were making us believe that they were the third or fourth seed type team that we hoped they would be, and that we saw glimpses of it. So when they got off to that 5-1 start, we were like, okay, this is the team. Since then, we faltered, and now we're 9-8. So the team is a little different than the team that we had hoped they would be. However, I do believe that there may have been some positives that happened over the weekend, the two games over the weekend that we may have overlooked that could be giving us a glimpse of hope of positive things to come. Welcome, Geraldine MacGyver, Sincere to Genius, White Falcon. All right, thanks for joining. Let's preview the game tonight, and then I'll jump into my thoughts about how hopefully what this Knicks team is going to turn into. I have some I have some good feelings about it. Honestly, I really do. I think watching Julius turn into basically dominate a game for the first time all season was really hopeful. I think we should all find a lot to be excited about in terms of that, because he has looked lost. And in that Houston game, he looked like he was trying to figure out how he could contribute without disrupting the whole flow of the offense. Well, I think in Chicago, I think he just decided, you know what, I got to enforce my will upon this game and let everything else kind of grow out from that. Well, it almost worked. It basically did work. One of the nice things that really happened were that Kemba had a very nice third quarter, and we're going to talk about that. His contributions, basically one possession after another that he initiated the offense turned into positive results. And even on the defensive end, he was able to draw a bad screen foul, and he was able to draw a charging foul. So the team has looked, that's promising. Here we go. Look at this. So this is the injury report as of right now, according to ESPN. LeBron is out because of the fight. Anthony Davis day-to-day, though I expect him to play. Austin Reeves is out. Taj is day-to-day, and so is Derrick Rose. Still haven't heard anything. Maybe we'll hear it during this pregame. Mitch is out again still because of the concussions and stuff. So White Falcon, he says, love the kids, trade. Julius is trade paid. Trade bait. Well, we never know. We don't know for sure what the long-term view is for the Knicks front office, what Leon is really thinking. We can only read the tea leaves. And they gave him a good contract. It's a favorable contract. But you never know. I don't think that if a big trade is available there, that they would just immediately dismiss it. I think they'd be looking at everything. But at the moment, I think it's a little early. I think it's a little early for us to talk trades in any significant way. But hey, things could change. After the end of November, things could be drastically different. We have a big stretch coming up, guys. Very big stretch. So let's look at, here's one thing I wanted to show you guys. Let's look at the last 5 games for these two teams, which is oddly kind of similar. So here we can see they're both 2-5, 2-3 in the last 5 games. And I mean, look at Lakers. They have a win that wasn't an easy win over the Pistons, and that was the game where the LeBron fight happened. And before that, the last win was against the Spurs at home. So they lost to the Bulls like we did, but they lost by a much bigger margin than we did. We actually, I think we really should have been able to win that game the other night. It was a tough one. Lakers lost to the Bucks, and they lost to the Celtics on the road. So the Bucks and Celtics were on the road, but Chicago and San Antonio were at home. Knicks lost to Chicago, as we all know. We barely, I mean, that win against the Rockets should never have been that close, but it was. That Orlando Magic game still hurts. But fortunately, we were able to pull out that Pacers win at home, and the Hornets game. Ooh, the Hornets are good though. They're good. They're a good team. They're a scrappy team. But I want to look at the last 7 games for these two squads. In the last 7 games, both are 3-4. They're averaging offensive rating for the Lakers. They're at 104.9, which is good enough for 24th in the whole league. The Knicks are not that far behind with 103.6 for 26. So only 2 spots behind the Lakers. Defensively, though, in the last 7 games, we're a defensive rating of 105.0, which is good enough for 11th. So almost in the top third of the entire league. So the defense actually has come on strong in the past 7 games. The Lakers defense, they're at 112.1 defensive rating for 23rd. So their defense is shaky. And then it shows in the net rating. They have a minus 7.2 net rating for 26th, 4th worst in the league. And the Knicks are a minus 1.5, right in the middle, 15th. So technically, without LeBron playing tonight, we should win this game. If I mean, we're coming up, but then again, you never know. We don't know which team is going to show up. We don't know. That's one of the things, is the inconsistency of this team is just driving us nuts, right? Welcome, Sco. D Rose is 7-6 versus Russell Westbrook. Unfortunately, Kemba is starting. Well, as we know, the starting is not an indication of who's finishing. So we don't know how that's going to go. So far, Thibs has been trying to ride the hotter hand towards the end of the game. Sometimes it was a mistake. In my opinion, it would have been, because Kemba was actually having a good game, it would have been nice to have seen him come back in the 4th quarter, because he was a spark plug in that 3rd quarter. I rewatched it, and he had there were like about 7 possessions in a row where he turned it into something really positive. And that was why we actually were able to get the lead. Now, of course, you don't play for 12 minutes. You play for 48 minutes, and that's been the problem with this squad. We build leads, give them away. We fall behind, and then we have to depend on the bench to get us back in it, like Rose leading us back in. So the inconsistency of the squad has been frustrating for me. I'm sure for the entire fan base, it's been really frustrating. But at this point, I think Thibs is trying to figure out the right formula without being too drastic in terms of making huge lineup changes. Is that right, or is that wrong? I don't know. I'd like to hear your feeling on that, whether Thibs' approach to his starting lineups is too rigid, whether he should experiment more. I'm curious to hear your feelings on that. Let's see, what else we got here. White Falcon, Rose, RJ, PJ13, OB, Mitch, IQ, Grimes, Burks. These are trade ideas. Could be possible. It doesn't matter who starts. No, it does matter who starts. It does matter who starts. Absolutely. But neither of them are going to play 36 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So there's going to be a substantial amount of minutes for both of them to share. So even if Walker starts, Rose has got to do his job, and vice versa. So you can't have one doing the job and the other one not. We're just not going to win consistently that way. That's what I meant by it doesn't matter who starts. It matters who actually has a productive game. In the end, as things progress, let's say things stayed the same, I've called for a switch of the backcourts. I was flat out said a while ago now, almost a week and a half ago, I said it's time to make the change. Switch the backcourts. Start Rose and IQ and have Walker and Fournier come off the bench. It didn't happen, so we got to roll with what's happening. But let's see if possibly Thibs's faith in Kemba and Fournier will pay off. I mean, last season, Reggie Bullock did not get off to a good start. And Elfrid, actually Elfrid was a little bit more productive in the beginning part of the season than he was later on. But that backcourt was not a good backcourt. It wasn't. And I was like thinking, hey, why don't we just, go with starting IQ, instead of Reggie? But of course, IQ was a rookie, and he wasn't ready defensively to take that role. But the point is that they got off to a slow start last season. And by having faith, maintaining faith in Bullock, it eventually paid off, because Bullock by like late January and February, same with Burks. Well, Burks also missed some games. It really started delivering. So I have faith that Fournier is going to be, he's the guy can score. He's a scorer. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. He will work it out. I'm more concerned about Walker in the long run, whether he actually can contribute consistently to this team. That's the main issue that I have, which is why I was so enthusiastic about his third quarter performance last game. So we'll see. Hey, we'll see, man. Hey, shout out Herbie Mack. Welcome. Let's see. The double-digit deficits. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff it can't continue. So that's what I'm curious. I'm curious if things continue as they do, will Thibs finally make that switch? I have a feeling he may give it a couple more tries before he makes that switch. Let's look at the stats leaders for these two squads, and there's no big surprises. Nothing surprising here, actually. Let's see. Anthony Davis is leading scorer there, which like I said, no surprise. And so yeah, we remove this overlay here. Okay, AD 24.6 points per game. Randall finally over 20 points per game again. He had been averaging 19.8 or something before the previous game. So we need him to be a 24-point scorer per game to have sustained winning. That's just the reality of the way this team is constructed. Unless Fournier wakes up and he consistently he averages 20 points per game, or RJ snaps back into the RJ that we saw during that 5-game stretch. And we're going to talk about RJ in a little bit, because that definitely is a little bit concerning. Rebounds almost even there, and assists. Russell Westbrook not averaging a triple-double this season, but still almost 9 assists per game. That's pretty nice. And Randall leading the team in assists, leading the team in all 3 stats there. That just shows how important he is to this team. If he's not playing the engine role that he is supposed to play, he's not delivering it correctly. I mean, what chances do we really realistically have? One thing I want to talk about, and it's been on Twitter today and stuff, people talking about, and actually Fred Katz from The Athletic wrote an interesting article about where Julius is catching the ball. He's not catching it low enough down on the block. He's out on the wing, and he's facing towards the basket. And now he's got to do at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 dribbles to get to the basket, where if he caught it down lower, he'd really only have 1 dribble, 1 move. I don't understand why he's not doing it that way, other than that's just kind of the way he played it last season, where he was able to see the defense. And when he attacks the defense, he tries to see who is going to double team him. So when he's facing, he's able to see who's double teaming him, and then he can spray the ball to the open guy. Unfortunately, he hasn't done it enough this season. And then when he has done it, the open guy is not hitting the bucket. So that part is frustrating. But I really do think that Randall needs to get down lower on the block. I totally agree with Fred Katz on that from that Athletic article. Absolutely 100% agree with that. It'll just make life much easier, especially now, So if that's the case and he feels a double coming, also the players got to talk to each other. You gotta be, talk to Julius. Yo, Ju, you getting double, and then he'll understand. He'll take a dribble, step back from the basket, and then he can spin, but he'll be closer already and find the open guy, maybe find a cutter. So there's a lot of things that still can be worked out with this team. I would not panic yet. This team, we're 9-7. 9-7. We're above 500. Even if we do lose tonight, we'll still be at 500. So we've had some good wins. We had a nice win against the Celtics, a nice win against the Bucks, nice win against the Sixers. The first one was a really nice win. The second one didn't have Embiid, but still, hey, it's nice to win those games. We finally got a makeup win from the Pacers. We lost that game in Indiana, but then we beat them at the Garden. It's the inconsistency that's driving me crazy. I don't know about you guys, but that's the part that's really making me like it's hard to watch when they're so inconsistent. Shout out to we got Johnny Rascal, 84 Hillside. Let's see here. Let me just show some of these. Let's see here. Every Knick has to gear up physically, mentally, and stay consistent. We need this W, but hey, we're amazing. Happens. Knicks Nation. Yes, we are where amazing happens. Let's see here. We can't lose in these fire jerseys, not at home. That's right, still Dre. They really are. I like the new jerseys. I got to get some. I got to get some new stuff for the wall back here. Let's see. Got Herbie Mack. What's up? What's up, George? Shout out to Knicks Nation. We need this win tonight. We really do need this win tonight. I want to hear from you guys in the chat. What type of win would make you feel much better about where this team is going? That's what I'm curious about, how you guys feel about that. Don't want to focus on whether we lose right now. That'll be for the post game if we do lose. Why harp on that right now? There's no point in it. Let's see here. I saw another good chat message here. There's an interesting one from Sco. Kemba's 4-12 versus Russell Westbrook. That's interesting. It's interesting. Now, Kemba did not play on good teams in Charlotte, so not necessarily a good team. So that's one thing got to factor in. But records are records. That's why they make note of them. So sad I won't get to see LeBron. Yeah, but come on, man. I know people were like, oh, no, he didn't mean it and whatever. Come on. Closed fist and like, boom, right. What was he thinking? He was going to hit the guy in the chest? Anyway, so was he hoping to hit him in the chest? It was a little high for that. So then what does that mean? Like in the throat? That would have been worse. If he had popped him in the Adam's apple, that would have been horrific. And then he ended up hitting him in the face and caused so much blood. I don't know. It seemed like and then who knows what he said to him. I don't know. I've read about it, and no one's revealing much about what was said. So we'll see. But Stewart definitely did overdo it. He definitely did overdo it. Let's see here. Do you think Rose will play tonight? That's a great question. Right now, he's listed as day-to-day. So not sure. In fact, let's see. Just got some tweets here. I believe. Oh, Fib said Taj, Mitch, and D Rose won't play tonight versus Lakers. So Fib says Emmanuel Quickly and Alec Burks could both see time at point guard with Derrick Rose out tonight. He's used Burks to run the offense for a few stretches in the past. Okay. Well, this is what happens with an 82-game season. Guys are going to miss games. It's going to happen. This is why you have depth. Luckily, we have one of the best benches in the game. And it's not the best only because of one guy. The whole bench has been playing well. So let's see if IQ and Burks can deliver without having the leadership of Derrick on the court. Let's see. That'll be interesting. So I would imagine there's no change in the starting rotation. So I wonder who's going to be. Will Obi be the first one off the bench? That'll be interesting. I wonder who'll be the first off the bench. Maybe it'll be Burks. Might be Burks first off the bench. Could be Burks. Burks has been giving us some nice offense. Really nice offense. Knicks have we've averaged 99.7 points per game in the last 7 games. That's rough, man. That is so rough. Wouldn't it be awesome if we just like bust out and just blow the Lakers off the court tonight? That would be just a fabulous, fabulous way to roll into Thanksgiving, because we have a big weekend coming up. Suns on Friday in the Garden, and then Knicks roll to Atlanta for the back half of a back-to-back Saturday against the Hawks. That game against the Hawks is so big in terms of checking in on how the team has either grown, either plateaued, or regressed. Can this Knicks team overcome? I mean, last year they won all 3 against Atlanta, but still, the Hawks planted something in the Knicks players' heads during that playoff series. I'm curious to see how these Knicks are going to respond to that, especially RJ and Randall. Those 2 are a key. Now I'm going to talk about RJ for a little bit. RJ, there's been a lot of discussion all over the place whether RJ is the guy. Can he ever be the guy or a guy on a championship team? Whether he's the 3rd best guy on a championship team, or whether he's just a role player, a really glorified role player, or an elite. The other term that I've heard is elite role player. Or can he be a star? Well, I mean, it's hard to, no one's got a crystal ball, though I try. I try often. I would put it this way, because it only matters what you're willing to gamble on. Money, your hard-earned money. And if someone was going to come to me and say, hey, let's bet $1,000 if 5 years from now, will RJ be one of the top 50 players in the NBA 5 years from now? And I'm not talking I'm not talking subjectively or opinion. I'm talking about actual stats, actual numbers. Can he be one of the top 50 players in the NBA? I would take that bet. I would say yes. Because the guy is a hard worker. He has shown us that he can string together long stretches of very positive play, trending upwards. His trend lines, unfortunately, right now, he's in a downturn. That's one thing about him that's really which is what's causing all of this discussion, which is, does he have it? When he has these prolonged stretches of bad play where he just can't buy a bucket. Offensively, I'm talking about, because defensively, he does give an effort, though I have had issues with his position, his overhelping sometimes. That stuff can't work. But I rewatched the Chicago game. He actually played, other than that one play that I totally highlighted in the post game, where he went to help out on DeRozan and turned his back to LaVine, and DeRozan, of course, found LaVine wide open. And LaVine, by the time RJ turned back around to his guy, LaVine was already whipping around him, and he got that easy bucket. And the game was only a 3-point lead for the Bulls at the time, with about a minute and a half left, or minute and 17 left, or something in the whole game. I mean, the game was there. You get that stop, go back and score at the other end. Knicks could have pulled this game out. So that was a big, big brain fart, and that's that overhelping problem that I have with him. But there were definitely times where, even though DeRozan did have a nice game, a lot of times when RJ was on him, RJ did make him work harder for those shots. And same with LaVine. He did make him work harder. So defensively, even though he is, he is somewhat inconsistent in terms of the help defense. His man-to-man defense is pretty solid. Is he, all NBA defensive team level? No. He wants to be, so that's important. I think he has the ability to do it because of his size, his ability to recover. Those are things that are really important. I think he can do it, but it's more offensively. His three-point shot, I can see it. You can see he rushes it sometimes, but often, I mean, a couple of times in that last game, he was getting the ball with under about 4 or 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And one time he had no other choice but to shoot it. And luckily, he was in the corner. Julius finally found him. He was forced to shoot it. Luckily, Nerlens was able to get the offensive rebound, and he bounced past it to RJ when he cut towards the basket, and he got the nice putback and an and one. That was actually a great possession because there were 6 passes. Every single Knick touched the ball in that possession, and we ended up with a 3-point play. So that was pretty awesome. So I would say have more patience with RJ. Again, he's only 21. He doesn't have the athleticism that a Ja Morant has, or even the Zion. Well, though Zion with the extra weight doesn't have that. But what he has is the kill. He has he's an alpha. Historically, he just used to just slash to the basket. His finishing hasn't been there though. That's the one thing. But in the beginning of the season, he was doing really well finishing. So I would say about a week ago, about 3 or 4 games ago, I put it out there that maybe he was playing through an injury of some type, because that's what it seemed like, because it didn't seem like anything different was happening. It wasn't like he was being double teamed more. He was catching the ball in rhythm to release his 3-point shots. He has had a lot of open looks that he's missed. So maybe he's a little hurt. I mean, look at with Rose. He had a couple of not so great games for him, and he was playing at such a high level. And now it turns out that tweaked ankle maybe is bothering him, and he's not going to play tonight. So there could be a little something like that. And RJ, he's a workhorse. He just likes to, work through all those issues. So we'll see. Let's talk about what's up, Josh. Thanks for joining, Josh. Uncle Fulio's in the house. Let's see here. RJ's a small forward. A true shooting guard is a shot creator. That's what we're missing, man. This is Robert De Niro. Yeah. That's a really good point. John Asara, welcome, John. RJ is still 21. He'll be on track by 24. Team not playing well was because for why he's playing badly. Yes, patience. Yes, we need patience, man. IQ. Let's see. Shalashka Revolver. I hope I pronounced it correctly. IQ is a shot creator. He is. Hey, that's one of the big positives here. And again, proof that we have to have patience, because IQ, I mean, he really hasn't shot the ball well since Summer League. Since that one, Summer League, he had one game where he had like 30-something points, but then after that, his shot really wasn't there. And it wasn't really there in the preseason, and it wasn't really there in the first 7 games or so of this season. Then it finally started coming around, because we all know what we saw last season. The guy's a bucket. The guy can shoot from anywhere, and he can create. He's got a decent handle. Now he's actually looking to really facilitate for others, as well as looking for his shot. He's finally being able to start balancing those two demands of the primary ball handler or secondary ball handler. Have you guys noticed that he doesn't look so lost anymore as he did in the first like 5-6 games of the season, where he would dribble and then like, oh, what do I do now? Now he seems to have a plan. And if the plan doesn't work out, he's willing to pull it back out, which is brilliant. Don't stop the dribble. I also like that he's been, and this might be something that he's picked up from D Rose. He likes to stab at the defense, and each time he takes a stab at it, he gets closer to the hoop. Now he's starting to, give us that little mid-range shot, which actually he hit one of them, really nice one the other night. So that's a really hopeful sign. I think tonight's a great night for him to show off. He loves the big stage. So let's hope that IQ has a big game tonight. All right, let's see. Welcome, Justin Hatcher. We should trade Randall for Ben and Mitch and Kemba for Cat and start Obi, and that's our mob. You guys want to make trades already, huh? Well, we'll see. I mean, after I think we're about 3 weeks away before anyone can get traded, because anyone who was signed as a free agent this summer cannot be traded until December 15th. So once that deadline comes and passes, then everyone's going to be available again. So we're going to see. We'll see what happens. And by then it will be that'll be a reasonable timeline to start talking about trades. We will have had at least by then about 24 games or so, 25 games will be past the quarter mark of the season. We should have a really good understanding of what kind of squad, and also we will have played mediocre talent, a few bad teams, and some really good teams. So we'll have a good read on where we're at and what pieces we may need, or maybe we don't need any. Maybe we just stick with what we got and we just keep letting our assets increase in value. Look what's happened with Obi. Obi's value has risen dramatically because of the way he has played recently. They played this whole season pretty much. Right now, I mean, he's an exciting prospect, very exciting prospect. So we'll see. We'll see what we can get, because the thing is, we want our assets to raise in value, so we don't have to give up as many of them to get something of value that'll work better for us in return. That's the rationale I think that Leon is working with. This is our team. No trades. Go Knicks. Let's see here. Grimes should get minutes today. Man, we got to get Grimes has got to get minutes regardless. If any of you saw, I can't even remember which post game it was, but I zeroed in on a halftime box score between the Warriors and the Nets. And if you looked at how many players had gotten floor time in just the first half for the Warriors, it was 12. It was actually 13 players were listed, but one of them only had 0 minutes. I don't know what to do with it. But let's say 12 players. 12 players got burned in the first half for the Warriors, who are right now one of the best teams in the NBA. So if one of the best teams in the NBA can find time for their rookies and their second-year players, Thibs, you can find time for Grimes and for Deuce. And, let's get Sims out there more. Let's try and let's utilize the benefits of their youth, energy, and athleticism. Will they make mistakes? Of course. But you're the one who always says you learn more from your mistakes than your triumphs. So let them learn. Now's the time, because we're going to need them later on in this season. Look, Kemba's missed a game. Derrick's going to miss a game. These guys are going to miss more games later on in the season. And if we don't have the young guys ready to go up to speed, then that's going to be because you're not utilizing them now. So let's hope they do get. George, you live in Manhattan? I used to live in Manhattan. I actually live in Los Angeles. I lived in Manhattan for, long time. I used to work in advertising there at Ogilvy. And yeah, it was great. I miss Manhattan so much, man. So much. But but that was as an adult. As a kid, I lived in Rego Park and Left Rack City. The hood. It was rough back then too. All right. Good question. Which superstar do you think we could get to the Knicks? That's a good question. Well, this is one thing. It's a good question, because you're saying could get. I think by the end of, by the trade deadline, this is an odd way to answer the question. Then I have a better answer of what I actually want to happen, or what I what I've been thinking about. I think by the trade deadline, any major star, any superstar that will be available at that time, the Knicks will have a chance at. Just put it that way. If they want to, I think they will have a chance. And partially it's because of what I just talked about before. Guys like IQ delivering, raising their value. Burks has an excellent contract. The guy he's a sniper. He's an assassin. He's a 3-level scorer. Obi, I mean, the guy is a highlight reel. I hate to talk about RJ and stuff in that way, but I'd rather not trade him because I really have high hopes for him personally. But let's say he corrects it, and a huge superstar becomes available like a Donovan Mitchell. And let's say Jazz want RJ. Can the Knicks say no? Not sure. But I do think that unlike last season, where we didn't have a chance at Harden or any other big superstars that wanted to be traded, we just didn't. We didn't have the resources to acquire them, other than our draft picks, the unused draft picks. So this season, I think it'll be different come the trade deadline. But there is one guy that every time I broach this subject about trades and who should the Knicks go after and who could be a good fit for this team, it's Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns on this team with Randall and RJ. Let's say we were able to add him without giving up RJ and Randall. We were to add Cat to this particular squad. I think this becomes a top 3 team in the East. I think we would be right up there with Nets and Bucks. I think it would leapfrog us past the Heat and the Bulls. Cat is the dude is special. The problem is that he has history with Thibs, though apparently things I've read, because I've done a lot of reading about all this because this has been on my mind, and I've talked about this with Keese and JD. We talk about it often, like, who's the guy? And we all acknowledge that he could be the guy, but except for there's a lot of question marks in terms of his dynamic with Thibs. So that's the main issue. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but Cat is too much money. Don't worry about money. That's one thing. The way we're structured right now, we don't have to worry about money. We have to worry about fit. That's the most important part, and whether we're giving up too much for that player. Those are the two main criteria. I mean, money, that's one thing Dolan's got. He's got money to burn. Look at how the Warriors handled. Warriors were way over the luxury cap. They were paying through the nose, and they had KD, Clay, Steph, Dre, and even their role players were making bank. They were like way over it, and they kept paying the money because they didn't want to lose those assets. I mean, KD ended up going his separate ways, but by them surviving through those periods where they had to basically overpay, now look where they're at. Warriors might win it all this season, with or without Clay. But if Clay comes back and he's even 85% of the Clay he was before, beware of the Warriors. Sco thinks Cat loves Rose. Huh. That's good. Yeah, he's Cat or Ayton. Cat is a much more skilled player than DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton might have a higher ceiling in terms of defensively, but I think as an all-around player, Cat is just heads and tails above Ayton. Cat's actually, he's a good passer. He's an excellent shooter. He's huge. He's physical, but he also has the finesse game. He has a nice touch around the rim. I mean, his overall, he's just, the problem is that we don't see him play enough. He's lost in Minnesota, and there was that weirdness with how it all ended with Thibs. So who knows about that? But the guy I'm not talking about is Dame. Dame may still be a possibility. Never know. Despite all the things we've heard, all the weird mixed messages, you never know. Let's see what we got here. Sco says Ben Simmons and D Rose unlocks Obi, RJ, and the rest. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Ben has a lot of growing up to do, though. Here, can you imagine Ben Simmons pulling the shit he did in Philadelphia for us in New York? He's got to do some growing up. Yeah, I think. I mean, if you remove how about this? Let's look at it this way. Ben Simmons a year ago at this time, yes, but the Ben Simmons that ended up getting exposed in the playoffs, that's a different scenario. I actually personally don't want the Knicks to have to deal with that. And then everything he's done since then. The concept the concept that a guy is pissed off because the rest of the world called him out on his own failing. And he's upset at all of us and the media and his fans and his teammates. And he wants to play the victim. Come on. That's too much junk up here for me. Let's look elsewhere for other players that there's too many good players. That's one thing. We're living in a golden age right now, man. There's a lot of really good quality young players right now in this league. You can see it. You can see it in when you see the standings. There's so many decent teams kind of packed in the middle because any given night, a player could have a good game, and any team can destroy another team on any given night. It wasn't always like that. No fourth quarter problems. It could be. It could be. I have cold feet on Ben Simmons in New York at the moment. One thing now, I'm totally for giving people second chances. 100%. I'm on board with that. Alan Pena, agreed. Center position fixes team. Oh yeah, can you imagine us with a good bona fide stretch five? But a stretch five that can also go down low on the block when we need him. That kind of versatility would be outstanding. I wonder what it would have been like for Patrick Ewing to have played in today's NBA, because he was actually one of the best long mid-range shooting centers ever in the history of the game. But it doesn't get noticed that much because back then it wasn't of value. If he could have just have extended that an extra 2 feet beyond the 3-point line, who knows? He might have been interesting. He might have been a really interesting player in today's game. But he was fantastic in his period. Let's see. Yeah, PG. Oh, Paul George. I like Paul George. I like him a lot. I think he's got such tremendous upside. He's any given night he could take over a game at any moment. He plays great defense. He gets to the bucket. When he launches his 3-point shots that are tightly defended, he hits a lot of tough looks. He's I like Paul George. That's my hope for RJ is for him to become a B+ version of the best that Paul George ever was. That's my hope for RJ. We'll see if he can do it. I think their games are much more similar than we were, especially the way RJ's 3-point shot was. I mean, last season, it's fantastic, 40%. And when he got off to an excellent start, and then he's totally fell off the cliff. But let's see if tonight begins the return of the 20+ point a game RJ that we saw for about 6 games. That guy's exciting, and he helps cover up a lot of flaws in the team when he plays that way. Let's see here. Someone wrote something. I want to see if I can pull this up. Someone's comment. Here's someone's comment. This is an interesting comment. Does anyone remember the specific game that Thibs ran plays for RJ instead of Julius down the stretch, and he started pouting like his son would? Could that little bout of immaturity have something to do with RJ's regression. The immaturity, he's talking about Julius's immaturity when RJ got plays called for him in the fourth quarter. You guys remember that game? It was during the good stretch that RJ was having. I do remember that comment. That was a comment that's at the end of the Athletic article that Fred Katz wrote about Randall's low post game. There might be something to that. You know, sometimes it is just a look. Sometimes it's just a grunt, the sound that a teammate makes that never gets talked about, but it kind of sticks in the back of your head and it could influence you negatively. But that's the kind of stuff that RJ, if you want to be the man or one of the guys, you have to shake that stuff off and know that when what you're doing is for the betterment of the team, not necessarily for yourself. That's always the bottom line. RJ reminds me of Gordon Hayward. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Hayward was a better shooter in the beginning, remember? But RJ has developed into that. It's a good one. PG-13 is RJ's big brother. Yeah. So we're in that. He's in that realm. He's in that realm. I really hope he turns it around, man. Really hope. Let's see if there's any other updates from the game. Who's going to play or not? Who do you guys expect to have a big game tonight? I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Drop a player's name. No, here. Points in the paint, playmaking, defense, all boxes that Ben Simmons checks for us at elite levels. True. It's true. Hey, there's no doubt that he's got elite talent. The problem is that he, look, got to call it as we saw it. The guy was afraid to go to the line in a big moment, afraid. And what made it worse was there was another guy on another team who was missing free throws. But did he shriek from the intensity of the moment? No. In fact, they were trying to disrupt him so badly. They were counting out loud. Opponent crowds were counting out loud to try and throw him off so that he'd have to shoot it within the 10 seconds. And guess what? He said, forget all that. I'm the man. And he got out there and hit 7 of 18 in the finals, and they won it all, and that was Giannis. That's what Ben needs to have. And everything Ben has done since that moment has shown that he is nowhere even close to that. So I would not even waste a draft pick on a guy like that at the moment, because he could also end up poisoning what we're trying to build here. However, like I said, I'm totally cool with second chances. And if he, explains himself and shows contrition and an understanding for the mistakes that he made and takes ownership, takes responsibility for it, absolutely. Absolutely. Why not? But right now, no. He's not like Dre says, Ben Simmons in New York is just not, no. I think he would just disappear. Like he did it. He already did it to the Sixers. Westbrook dropping 50 points. Oh, no, I'm not even, no way. Let's go. No with that negativity. John Asaro says, yes, Julius can cause that he's not a great player. He's causing all types of disruption on this team, scaring Fournier and Kemba, in my opinion, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think any of that is like intentional or anything. I think it's just part of the lack of the chemistry that they have. But they had to figure it out. These guys are pros. You got to figure it out. And I'm saying Fournier and Kemba have to figure it out with Julius. They just have to. Hey, Connor, shout out to you, Connor. Nerlens could have a big game on defense. Well, he has to have a big game, man. Because right now, I believe that Davis AD is listed as day-to-day, so I haven't heard that he's not playing. So we have to just assume that he's playing. Yeah, man. All right. Well, I think that I think Randall may have a rough game tonight. I have a feeling that the Lakers' strategy will be to try and take him out of his flow and force him to be more the facilitator. I mean, that's how he should respond. They're probably gonna like kind of bait him into being ISO Randall again. So we'll see. So then it'll come upon Fournier and Kemba and RJ and Nerlens to basically help him out. Because if they do their job, then the inverse is things get easier for Randall in return. So let's hope that they can find that excellent balance, man. I mean, that third quarter against the Bulls, you guys should definitely rewatch it. That first unit where they were moving the ball around, they were choosing to attack at the right moments. They were hustling, they were getting loose balls, and they were playing good defense. That's if they come out with that intensity at the beginning of the game tonight, that'll be a really promising sign that maybe they're starting to put it together. Really want to see that, man. Really want to see that. AD is going to have 35. He might. So the key will be keeping everybody else down. He might. AD is tremendous, man. Still, Dre, if RJ can show up big tonight with the win, we will all sleep like babies tonight. That's exactly right, man. That's what I want to see. I want to see. We need that. We need a big game from RJ. We need a big game from RJ for many reasons. And actually, again, JD and Keith and I were talking about because we're all worried about the first unit, Kemba, Fournier. Oh, did we spend our money correctly? All this stuff. Should Rose start over Kemba and all that stuff? And all those are important and valid concerns. But come on. Are we expecting to win it all this season? I mean, if everything went right, are we expecting us to win it all this season? No. No reasonable Knicks fan is expecting us to win it all this season. But could we go further than last season? Absolutely. Should we go further than last season? Absolutely. Could we surprise people? If things started clicking the way we had hoped, the team that we saw in the beginning when they got off to a 5-1 start, they were one of the top offenses in the game and still playing good defense. Could they, somehow surprise people? And the way injuries go, and we don't know if Kyrie's ever going to play, and who knows what's going to happen with Harden. And then will Miami keep it together? Can the Bulls, overcome their defensive situation? There's so many questions. A lot of teams have questions. Can the Wizards maintain themselves? We don't know. Can this Knicks team make it to the second round or even further, Eastern Conference Finals? I mean, on paper they should, but it takes chemistry. It takes it to happen. However, going all the way and winning it all, that is just not a reasonable expectation for this team for this season. But doesn't mean that this isn't a part of getting to a championship. Because you guys know that I want us to win a championship so badly. I can't stand it that we haven't won anything since the 70s. And we haven't even been to the finals since 1999, which was fantastic, by the way. That was such a glorious, glorious run. So when I look at it and I put that video out, are the Knicks on the right path to an NBA championship? The answer was clear, yes, they are on the right path. But that doesn't mean that they can't veer off the path and get lost, or new opportunities present themselves to kind of jump forward, maybe find a shortcut. All of these things could still happen. However, we're focusing on the wrong things. We should be focusing solely, but with patience. Don't want us to freak out. But this team only goes as far as RJ Barrett takes us. That is the reality of the situation of this team. He's our second highest draft pick since Patrick Ewing. He has shown glimpses of being elite, and then they fade away. He has given us long stretches of solid consistency, of outstanding three-point shooting. I've already shown you the stats. Until this terrible downturn recently, he was the leading three-point shooter in 2021 from his draft class. That's right. That included Jordan Poole, Hero, Garland, all those guys. RJ was the number one three-point shooter from his draft class in this calendar year. So that's a long stretch. It's a long sample size. So, but the thing is, where is his ceiling? Is his ceiling, like I said, the B+ level elite rotation guy? Or is his ceiling at best a solid number 3 on a team with an outstanding 1A and an outstanding 1B? Or is he a real bona fide number 2? I don't think he'll ever be a number 1 guy. I don't think he will. That's my personal opinion. I hope I'm wrong and he will be. But I'm saying I think his ceiling is a number 2 guy where he just puts it all together. I mean, he's done too much in his life already. I mean, you look at what he's done where he's been the alpha and been the actual sole reason why his teams have won. So this downstretch, this downturn he's had recently, if this continues and it becomes the new norm for him, that's the most important thing to worry about as Knicks fan base. I think he'll get out of this, but just keep focused on that. But we need to have patience because we also don't want to create this bubble of expectations and tension where he feels it every time his hands touch the ball and he's about to shoot. Like the weight of the world of the Knicks nation's hopes and dreams, lie with every single shot he takes. That's a lot, especially for a 21-year-old to handle. There's very few LeBrons in the world in terms of his ability to handle all that pressure at a young age. Very few guys like that. All right, sorry, I've been away from the chat for a little while. Hey, welcome, Rick Pennington. Consistency is key. That's what I want to see from RJ. I would rather have a consistent 18, 19 point a game RJ than, a 26 one night and 11 the other night RJ. That part, freaks me out, that part. Welcome, Jason M. As currently constructed, RJ is key, but they may not be the case in the long run. Oh yeah, we'll never know. That's true. That we'll only find out as we go forward. That's for sure. Welcome, May 4th. We lost to a team who didn't have its starting front court. I mean, what more proof do you need? Yeah, that's absolutely right. We're missing Vooch, and but Vooch doesn't play defense. So, in fact, I think it would have been easier for the Knicks to beat him with Vooch. That's how much I think about Vooch. And Patrick Williams, what did he do against these Knicks? Not much. I'm not a big believer in their front court, so there goes with that. Let's see. So seriously, feel absolutely nothing for a 7-game series. I don't agree with that, May. I don't agree with that. It's way too early to tell. Also, remember one thing that what Thibs says. Got to think. Remember, and he's talking to his players every time he talks to us. That's another thing to really bear in mind. In his mind, it's more important to be playing your best ball towards the end of the season. He's right now trying to find out what's the right formula. He's made a decision to start, and I'm sure it wasn't his own. It was probably, Leon and the group deciding Kemba's the starter, Fournier is going to start. We'll go with this for a while. How much longer he goes with it, we'll see. But I think he's looking at different options, and then they may already have, a list of 5 or 6 guys that they're looking at to make a trade for to add to this team. The contracts that they sign guys to are very tradable. They're really attractive. They're not too big, but they're not too small. So I think it's way too early to tell if this is the same team that we saw in the playoffs last season in terms of being able to deliver. We'll see. Not willing to go down that path yet. But at some point you got to start showing some growth, some development. Alton Lee. We traded defense for offense, and this is the result of the action. Result of the action. That's true. We did make that trade. We did. And also but the defense has gotten better. In the past 7 games, the Knicks defensive rating is 105, which is good for 11th. We were down in the 20s. We were like 24th in the first 7 games or so. So the defense actually has improved. The problem is that the offense that they made the trade of the defense for hasn't delivered consistently. So if the offense does its job, we should be able to start winning consistently. And tonight's going to be a excellent test. If they had LeBron, it'd be much harder. But without LeBron, even though they're going to have AD, well, it's not 100% confirmed that AD is going to play. But let's assume he does play. It's going to be a battle that these Knicks should win. Absolutely. Let's see. We surveyed 100 people. I love that name. What do you think about Sims? I think Sims is just super raw, but I really liked what I saw from him in the summer league. I really liked what I saw from him there, and even in the preseason. I think it's he just looks a little lost sometimes, still out there, and unfortunately, it's such a key position for Thibs in terms of how his defense is aligned, that anytime there's a mistake or two made at that position and he has other options, he has Taj and Nerlens and Mitch, it just becomes harder and harder for him to give Sims burn. But I do think that Sims's athleticism is something outstanding that they should keep giving him looks so that he can start getting more and more comfortable out there. So I like Sims. I like Sims. I'm a fan of him. Absolutely. Jason M., welcome. The Knicks have been bad for so long that fans can't take being a decent team. Sure, we want them to be contenders, but it's not easy. Other teams have improved as well. That's beautiful. That's exactly right. And when I started off this pregame, I launched into debate talking about that the 5-1 start. I think I don't want to say I think it created this sense of, wow, this team is real. Like they're contenders. And I even predicted a 5-1 start. I'm predicting a 53-win season. And even though it's looking rough right now, I'm sticking with it. 50 plus wins. That's how much I believe in this squad. So, and that's more than a decent team. That's an actually very good team. A decent team, is a couple games over 500. That's a decent team. But I'm expecting a little more. But it's true. We've been without a winning team for so long that when we saw that 5-1 start, we were like, oh man, this is fantastic. And they built up so much hope and anticipation. And when they started losing and like struggling and stuff, I think it's broken our hearts because we were so hoping that we were beyond that. But we're not. We're in that decent to a little bit better than decent crust, which is below the upper crust teams. But any given night, this team can beat anybody. They can. And we've seen any team can beat anybody in this year's NBA. It's crazy. When you look at some of the scores, you're like, what? How did that team beat that team? Just the way it is every night. The 3-point play. The 3-pointer really makes a big difference in that. All right, let's see. Carlton Vincent, welcome. This is not the same team from last year. Without a doubt, whose fault it is, the coach or the player. I think you mean or the players. Without a doubt. Whose fault is it, the coach or the players? I think right now, I'm going to say it's the players right now because it's if you look at the starting units, I mean, Randall is Randall. Randall should he have regressed the way he did in the beginning part of this season? I mean, really, the first time we saw the real Randall since the first week of this season was the other night. So that's on him. Fournier. Should Fournier be making his open looks? Yeah. Make your bucket, man. You're open. What's the deal? Kemba. Should you drive more? Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry. You know what? Look, you can only preserve your body so much where you actually are hurting the flow of the team. You know, if you can't be out there, don't be out there. But if you're out there, be all the way out there. Get to the cup. And we saw that he started doing that in the last game. So I'm putting this start on the players. However, in the next 15 games or so, if things don't improve and changes aren't made, then that's on the coaches. I don't know. I don't know if that answer satisfies you guys, but Knicks, Rick Pennington, Knicks miss wide open shots and layups. The layups are the killer, man. Those bunnies, that bunny, that RJ, it's like, what? Dude. That we convert those at a higher clip, we'd be right where we want to be. 100%. 100%. In fact, that's why we did get off such a great start, because we were making our open shots. We were making our layups. Our bunnies were going in the hole. Now they're not. Let's see here. Last year, we were 8-12 after 20. It will click for us. Just keep working. Get the shooting numbers up. Defense is trending, and things will turn. That's a really great positive way to look at it, and objective. Is true. That is absolutely all true. And the defense has improved, guys. I mean, go back, look. You know, I'll get into a whole deeper, long video, like a recorded video where I dissect the defense and everything. It's hard during these live streams to get into it that deep, but I'll do it and I'll show you guys that the defense isn't as big a problem as it was. It's really the offense at the moment, and it's missing open looks. So and it's working too hard to get looks. That's the other problem. You know, like the second unit is great at getting easy buckets. First unit struggles with getting easy buckets. So let's hope that starts changing around. Why would the Clippers trade PG-13? When we were just talking about comps for RJ, what kind of player RJ could be, and then it just jumped. Then we were talking about general trades, like what kind of superstar would be nice to have on this team and stuff. So PG-13 got thrown in there. No, I haven't heard anything about them trading him or anything like that at all. So don't look at it that way. Let's see. What do we got here? I just thought I saw a update. I got to get new glasses, man. Let's see. We got here. Carlton Vincent, that is the problem. The New York Knicks could be any team at any given night, could beat any team, but that any given night is not showing up. Yeah. Every given night looks like they can lose now. Yeah. Man, that dropping those 2 games to the Magic at the Garden, that is unacceptable, in my opinion. Unacceptable. And if you guys caught that post game, I ripped the team. I ripped them, and deservedly so. That should never happen. And the way they played against the Rockets, that was also very disturbing. Other than Fournier actually delivering that night, but then the next night he doesn't come out and he doesn't do anything. So that inconsistency is just maddening, man. Maddening. That's one thing about the 90s Knicks. They were consistent, man. I mean, were they a great offensive team? No. And it was frustrating, that those Knicks have, I mean, there was a season or two where we had multiple all-stars, but that's just because Oakley he was playing tremendous defensively. And I think Johnny Starks was an all-star one year, but they weren't really bona fide, top level superstar players like you need to win it, to win the ring. So it was really Patrick and a superior role players around him. That's how that team was constructed. But they were consistent. This squad right now is not, which is why I'm hopeful, because I mean, it just makes sense. These guys are all professional. They all want to win. They're all good guys. They're hardworking guys, and they have a positive coaching staff, an incredibly talented coaching staff. They've hired a lot of excellent analytics guys, like top level analytics guys. So if you just look at it over time, as each week clicks by, this team will get better and more consistent. The variance will start lessening, and then it'll just start being, okay, either this is a 525 winning team, which is I'm not sure exactly what that comes out to, maybe about 49 wins, 48 wins, 49 wins, maybe 47. I'm not sure exactly the number, but you know what I mean? Like that could, I think it will trend to consistency over time, and then we'll find out what kind of team this actually is. So let's hope for the best for that. All right, I'm going to wrap this up soon. I've been talking for over an hour. You guys have been awesome. I love the questions in the chat and everything. I really appreciate this. Yeah, we got another one here. Question for chat. Oh, question for chat. Was Giannis projected to be Giannis when he was drafted? No, he was not. In my opinion, he wasn't. Sam Lee. Welcome, Sam. Everyone around the league is figuring it out. Something to be said for continuity and playing through mistakes. We were never going to pick up from the win streak last season. Got to remember how ended. It's true. But look, that win streak, that 9-game win streak, and they won 12 out of 13, that was outstanding. That was outstanding. And let me tell you, something like that is going to happen again this season. If this team, if the players play to their fullest potential, and there's no reason, barring injury, that they don't, eventually they'll have a string where they'll win 7, 8 games in a row, and they'll win 14 out of 16 or something. That will come. I'd love it to come now. Let's see. Maybe they can start tonight. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching this, and look for the post game afterwards. Hopefully it'll be a happy one. And we'll be doing more pregame shows on Friday. Keith will be back in action, because I don't think he's going to that game. So hope to do that. Even though this was fun, this was great. You guys, the chat was fantastic. You fueled the whole conversation. Is exactly what I was hoping for. Not easy when you're doing it solo. So your contributions are really important, really appreciated. All right, guys. Well, let's hope that we get this win tonight. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And hit the thumbs up. Didn't even ask for that the whole time. Thumbs ups are really much appreciated. Hey, look, we got a good team. They're just right now, they're inconsistent. And that's frustrating. But there's too many professionals all around this squad, really top level people. They're going to figure it out. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Let's go Knicks. Let's win this tonight.